Okay, I want you to picture this. A woman just walks out into the street and starts to dance, and she doesn't stop for days. Soon, hundreds of other people have joined her, all of them dancing uncontrollably. Some of them, and this is not a joke, literally dance themselves to death. This sounds like something out of a horror movie, right? Well, it's not. It's a real, documented historical event. Let's dive into the absolutely bizarre and terrifying story of the dancing plague. The year is 1518. We're in the city of Strasbourg, which was part of the Holy Roman Empire at the time. Life here is already tough, with famine and disease being pretty common. But something far stranger is about to happen. It all kicked off in July with just one person, a woman. Her name was Frau Trophäa. She steps out of her house and, with absolutely no music playing, just starts dancing like a maniac right there in the street. Now, what started with one person, well, it turned into this horrifying spectacle. Within a single month, her strange solo dance had somehow spread across the entire city. And get this, she was joined by about 400 other people. That's right, 400 people, all just seized by this unstoppable urge to dance in the middle of a hot summer. This wasn't some kind of festival. It was a full-blown public health crisis unfolding right in the streets. And for a lot of them, it turned into a death sentence. Yeah, the records from the time are pretty grim. They document that many of these dancers just collapsed and died. So that's the big question, isn't it? What on earth was going on here? How does dancing become fatal? To even begin to understand how this happened, we've got to go back to the very beginning. Let's take a closer look at the story of the first dancer, the patient zero of this whole thing, Frau Trophäa. The accounts from back then paint a really disturbing picture. See, there was no joy in her dancing. Her movements were just frantic, her face was completely blank. And she kept this up for almost a week straight, only stopping for a few moments when she was literally too exhausted to move, before whatever was compelling her took over again. So from this one really unsettling case, the whole phenomenon just exploded. It spiraled so fast from one woman's strange behavior into a citywide epidemic that was completely and terrifyingly out of control. And this timeline, wow, it just shows you how fast this thing spread. I mean, think about it. It starts with one person. Just one. A week later, 34 people are dancing. And then, by the end of the month, 400. 400 people, all caught in this bizarre, trance-like state. Can you even imagine the chaos and the sheer terror on those streets? The physical toll was just brutal. People were dancing on bloody feet, some were even screaming in pain, but they just couldn't stop. They were severely dehydrated, completely exhausted, and a lot of them were having hallucinations. It was a literal waking nightmare. At its absolute peak, this plague was claiming up to 15 lives every single day. People were dying from heart attacks, from strokes, and from pure unrelenting exhaustion. Their bodies were just giving out. So the city leaders are panicking, right? They decide they have to do something. But their solution, which was based on the medical ideas of the time, would turn out to be a huge and deeply ironic mistake. They brought in the city physicians, who took a look and came back with a diagnosis: hot blood. They genuinely believed that this was a natural illness, caused by, well, blood that was too hot. And the only way to cure it, they figured, was to sweat the fever out. So what's the official prescription for a plague of uncontrollable dancing? You're not going to believe this. More dancing. Yeah, I'm not kidding. The authorities actually cleared out a public market, built a whole stage, and even hired professional musicians, all because they thought they could help people dance themselves healthy. The result? A complete disaster. Instead of being a cure, the music and this big public spectacle just seemed to pull more people into the frenzy. The quote-unquote cure was actually a catalyst, making the whole epidemic worse and encouraging even more people to join this deadly dance. Which brings us to the central mystery of this whole thing. What actually caused it? Was it something in the food, or was it something happening inside their own minds? Let's take a look at the two main theories. All right, so the two main suspects are ergotism and mass hysteria. Theory A is that people were poisoned by a psychoactive mold that grows on rye bread, which is basically a natural form of LSD. Theory B points to a massive psychological breakdown, what we'd call a mass psychogenic illness, brought on by the incredible stress everyone was under at the time. But there's a really big problem with the poison theory. One of the main symptoms of ergotism is that it restricts blood flow to your arms and legs, and it often leads to gangrene. So the kind of non-stop, frantic dancing they saw in Strasbourg, it would have been physically impossible. And that's why the case for mass hysteria starts to look a lot more convincing. You have to remember, the people of Strasbourg were under just incredible psychological pressure. And crucially, there was this widespread belief, this fear, of something called the Curse of St. Vitus. They believed the saint could punish sinners by forcing them to dance. It's this chilling real-world example of the nocebo effect, the opposite of the placebo effect. It's where negative belief can cause real physical harm. It's possible that their collective fear of the curse is exactly what brought it to life.
So, if this plague was probably born from fear and stress, how did it finally stop? Well, the ending is just as mysterious as the beginning.
The dancing just stopped. It kind of fizzled out. By early September, the whole epidemic had pretty much vanished. There was no miracle cure, no obvious turning point. The dancers just stopped dancing. The authorities, who had finally given up on their more dancing idea, took the people who were left to a shrine on a mountaintop, a shrine dedicated to Saint Vitus. And there, they all prayed for forgiveness, which really tells you everything about what they believed was the real cause of all their suffering. And that's where we're left. Was this all just a freak case of mass poisoning? Or is it a really chilling reminder of the power of the human mind to turn collective stress and belief into a deadly physical reality? The complete answer? Well, it remains one of history's most bizarre and unsolved mysteries.